So normally, I don't do a lot of commentary on the videos until now because I'm going to start doing spoken word. And so, anyway, I did want to comment on all these. They're like, showing the history of my YouTube channel and the different things that I've done and tried since I started this YouTube channel in 2011. First, I'm going to do a cheap visual to show how much entertainment you can provide, a person can provide just by pouring a Shasta Cola into a glass. In the 1970s, we had these same glasses in my home, and there's pictures of me when I was like, however old I was, drinking out of this exact same glass. It was like 1977 or something like that. Anyway, Shasta Cola is pretty good. Like if you sing, it it makes your voice in a good way, like so you can hit the notes pretty well, and that's I think it's even better than like tea, and it's definitely better than coffee, better than water, and I know I read somewhere that Freddie Mercury was drinking Coke, but I personally like Shasta Cola better than Coke. Anyway, I've done a whole bunch of different types of videos ever since I started my YouTube channel. And when I started it, I was working in Los Angeles doing video engineering jobs, which were like, I don't know, special effects, like using like 2D graphics, using like interactive Adobe Flash. I was doing contracts, doing like interactive when they first came out with 3D, they had these libraries for Adobe Flash called God, what was it called? Away 3D and Paper Vision 3D. So I was doing like you would show like a 3D menu on a website, and people could kind of navigate the menu instead of it being a two-dimensional menu like you see normally in a website. It would be a 3D menu. And I did a whole bunch of those for different companies in Los Angeles when I first moved there, which was like in 2008, 2009. And then I worked for um, Pixelogic in Hollywood. And Pixelogic does 3D, or they did at that time. That's when the movie Avatar came out, and Pixelogic has a software called ZBrush, which is how they made all the characters in Avatar, and they've done ever since then. But Avatar was the big movie um, that the first time when they made a real blockbuster like that. I mean, they of course had made 3D movies for a long time. So when I started this, I was using the free version of the 3D software Blender, which in 2011 was really not that great, but the stuff that I was doing with Flash was much better than what I could make with Blender. But when I started using Blender, I could all of a sudden, because it was free, I didn't have a lot of thousands and thousands of dollars to spend on 3D software, which is what it costs in those times. I think it still does for most of it, but in the meantime, Blender has gotten much much better. And I made things with Blender a couple of years ago because I had a dedicated desktop computer for that purpose. And eventually that computer bit the dust. And so now if I'm generating 3D, it it has to it has to be like on a dedicated fast computer to generate it. And it also It's not something that people haven't seen before. I mean, it's fun and everything like that. It's gotten much better. It's easy to, make the characters. They look nice. They have nice clothes. They're dancing. I discovered that in the Mixamo library, the longest animations were of samba dancing. So I did a bunch of samba dancing music videos a couple of years ago when I had the dedicated machine, but eventually it bit the dust. It was just something that I bought used off of Amazon, and some water got spilled into it, and it did not it did not turn on after that. So since then, I have not really done that much 3D until I decide to buy another dedicated machine for it, which I don't know that I'm going to do that this year, but or maybe I'll get a brand new laptop. I don't know if I'm going to do that this year either, but and start generating that again. But the fact is it is not the most popular type of video that I have made. The 3D takes a long, long time for the computer to generate, and you end up like having the computer generating the 3D overnight, and that can interfere with your sleep unless you unless you put the computer in a separate room or something like that, which I don't tend to. So I end up waking up in the middle of the night checking on the 3D render, which is the same with rendering like the recent kind of best of the Tim Johnson 23 YouTube channel videos that I've produced recently using that software that I use all the time, DaVinci Resolve. I've been putting together a whole bunches of small clips that I made at other times just to show like which are the top videos. And ever since 2011, which is now 14 years ago. So I started out the first year I was generating a 3D Blender for like the first 2 years, and that's the reason why I started the YouTube channel, is because I had this video that was my own video that I thought I should put somewhere so people could see it, or at least they could see that I was doing this in 2011, but I could see at the time that it wasn't really professional quality. It wasn't anywhere near the quality that Hollywood studios could produce at that time, because they were using really heavy duty computers to do their rendering, and I was just using my home computer. And also the Blender software in 2011 just wasn't that great. It still had a lot of bugs in it, and it's gotten pretty good lately. So I'm interested in it again, but that's how I started out. I had video cameras before that, a few years before that, but I didn't. They weren't high definition. They were low quality. They were like a low quality webcam quality, standard definition, and they didn't really impress people that much. The videos that you could take with them, photographs were much better quality at that time. So I did photography. I don't know. I found like the oldest photos that I found that I took were like we went to France in 1978, and there's some pictures that I took there with like a Instamatic camera, and they were pretty good. I haven't changed the way I take photographs since then. And then in 1982, I went and lived in Norway for 2.5 months, and I took a lot of pictures there too. And basically, the way I was taking pictures then is the way that I still take pictures, but in the meantime, I took a lot of pictures, especially when I was working as a Lyft and Uber driver. I would pick people up at the airport and drive them sometimes like 2 hours to some faraway place, and then take a bunch of pictures of that place. And just, I guess, for future reference, mostly, like I took pictures of things that I thought were the most the most interesting architecture. And I actually have a master's degree in urban and regional planning from San Jose State University. And so I was actually trained to spot like all the different architectural styles that you see if you go somewhere. And so I would be like, oh, look, there's a Richardsonian Romanesque building. Well, we only have one of those in California, I think, or maybe there's one in. There's one Richardsonian Romanesque building in Ione, which was a boys' reformatory called what Preston Castle, I think it's called. What we have in California is a lot of we call it Victorian, but it's just architecture from like 1880 to 1910. All these old wooden houses that people have painted in colorful combinations, and they usually refer to them as the painted ladies. So I was taking pictures mostly in California of like painted ladies' houses and things like that, but also like if there was a good restaurant or something like that. And so I still do that, but I don't work for Lyft and Uber, at least not currently. I may do it again some other time in the future, perhaps. It's actually a fun thing to do. It's like being on vacation, but you get paid to drive people wherever they want to go. But I mean, if you don't want to drive them, you just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having a medical emergency, and I have to drop you off." I mean, there's always a way out if it's not if it's a bad experience. But I never did that. I just took people where they wanted to go. I just dealt with if they were a difficult person, then it would be like, well, this is my chance to figure out how to cope with this very difficult person I'm giving a ride to. Anyway, I lived through it, and but what I still do now is if there's a song, because when I started the channel, I was living in the Santa Monica Mountains just west of Los Angeles, and there's all these movie sets there from all these famous movies, like Planet of the Apes, for example, or like in Malibu, all of the beach movies, beach, whatever, like the Annette Funicello movies made in Malibu, Planet of the Apes, all the old Western movies, because they could, when they were filming early films in Hollywood movies, they couldn't take the actors out of a certain radius, like from Hollywood, and so the main like location, like outdoor location settings for the older movies, like up until like the 1940s, were just the immediate area near Los Angeles, including the area that I lived in Calabasas, and especially in Malibu Creek State Park, which was an ancient area that the Native Americans lived in for thousands of years, and there's all these like really mystical rock formations there, and areas that were villages, for thousands of years and stuff like that. And so that's how I started this. That's what I was doing when I first started. Like in 2013 or so, I started hiking around the Santa Monica Mountains, and then I started driving for Uber and Lyft, and eventually just Lyft. And when I would go end up in some place I wasn't familiar with, I would already be prepared. Like I already had all the points mapped out on Google Maps, like the most interesting places starting in Los Angeles, and then I also worked in the Monterey area, and then like San Jose area, and I took people up to San Francisco many times, like the whole San Francisco Bay Area, and also like before the COVID shutdown and after the COVID even during the COVID shutdown, I was doing that and taking all these photographs. Not video usually during that time. And so it wasn't until later that I kind of compiled all the photographs that I took during those years. Uh, it was like in 2013 or something on these best of things. There's, I think on 2013, it starts to show like all the photographs that I took because I didn't put the photographs on YouTube at first. The whole time, occasionally posting videos of me playing guitar or ukulele. And during COVID, I did a lot of that, but I wasn't trying to stand out too much, so I just played songs that I kind of knew were not really the most popular songs. I did a lot of songs from, well, also I wanted to make sure that they would be public domain, so I was trying to do like old jazz songs that were at least 100 years old because I knew automatically then that they wouldn't be copyright protected. And it seems like in most recent years, like they've really made it a lot more lax. Like you can put practically anything on YouTube these days, and it doesn't. It used to be they would say, oh, well, this is a strike against you. It was like certain songs people were talking about where they would get in trouble for posting it, but I haven't really run into that very much lately. I try to just if I'm using someone else's music, I'll just use like one artist. Like I did a lot where I was using Brian Eno, and that's because all of the Brian Eno I tried to use, it says, well, it's okay for you to use this, it's copyright protected, but it's okay with the artist if you want to use it on YouTube. So I always thought like Brian Eno, I used to listen to it a lot. I still love Brian Eno's music, and also especially the way he produces the music. And so even in like 1977, the stuff that he was producing still sounds totally futuristic to me. And he also did like music for films. So it's like if you're making your own films, why not use music for films as the soundtrack for it? I tried all of that, and especially like old music. And then it started to be like, well, you don't have to use music that's 100 years old. You could actually use something that's, 80 years old and see if it's copyright protected or not. And it turns out that none of it is really copyright protected. It's only copyright protected if somebody's like going on tour with it right now, and it's like their main song they're playing. So then it's like super copyright protected if somebody's touring the world right now and you're using the song that's like their song. That's when it's copyright protected. Otherwise, all these miscellaneous songs that were, especially trying songs that are like on some, the top 500 albums of all time kind of thing. None of that stuff. I mean, usually, like, I don't know, maybe 20% of those songs are copyright protected now, according to YouTube and the restrictions they show. And, yeah, most of the time it just says no restrictions if it's kind of a more obscure song. So there's a lot of songs that a person could really just rework them slightly and write a new song with them. That's kind of what I was thinking to do, because I did write songs, and I did that a lot. Like I don't know, it was a period of time where I was writing songs. When I was like 20 years old or so, I wrote a bunch of songs, but I didn't think that they were really the best songs. I mean, and so before I write any songs now, I just want to make sure that I know what are the songs that people like the most right now, so that if I'm going to, you know, use one of those songs as kind of a model to write a new song, maybe borrow a chord or something like that, or at least like examine like the way the narrative is in the lyrics or something like that. Um, then then I could write a good song as long as I know what's good and what people like right now, because it has changed a lot. Like, there's a lot of music groups that people used to think were were totally cool, and then something happened. Like, I don't want to say who, but I mean, there was this one band where they had these kind of early albums were like really edgy. Everyone thought it was the coolest thing, and then they come out with like their kind of pop sort of sellout phase, and then they've been playing the pop sellout phase, on the radio and in the store for such a long time that people only know this group for their commercial stuff and not the cool, edgy stuff that I learned how to play before all this happened. So I have some songs where I'm like, oh yeah, I used to love playing that song by so and so, but nobody's interested in that anymore. And there's a few groups like that, and also there are ones where you could say like, now why do people not like this other group anymore? And it's like, because, well, they had a nasty breakup, and the lead singer hates the guitar player, and then the other guy said something that was totally controversial, and so as consequentially people end up not liking their music anymore. And whole genres really, like, people used to, because here in California before COVID, um we were there were times when we were really into all the like hippie music and all the punk rock music, but I'm finding that those genres are not really that popular right now, at least not for me to play. I'm okay with that because there's plenty of other music, so that's not really a problem. But I'd say, and then like other things that I might try, like a song like in the early jazz age, which I was, like I said, I was playing songs that were 100 years old. Somebody would write a song, like Irving Berlin would write some song, and then there would be like 10 versions of it featuring a female vocalist, and there'd be maybe 8 versions featuring a male vocalist. And in the early times, or up until maybe the 50s or so, that's how they would do it. Any good song, they would have all these dance orchestras, and they would have all these versions, and they would always have male and female versions. But as time progressed, they stopped doing that. So it got to be like in the rock and roll era and other eras that followed it. It got to be like there would be like one version that would really be the version, and they would either have a male vocalist or it would have a female vocalist. And I found that I can sing like a song that's 100 years ago, from 100 years ago, that was sung by either male or female vocalists. But if I try and do a song from the 70s that was originally sung by a female vocalist, no, nobody will even click on it, because that is just how it is as far as I can see. And it's interesting because people are supposed to be so not aware of gender these days, or that's how some people see it. But it's not worth it for me to try to sing a song that was originally made popular after 1950 by a female vocalist. It's not even worth playing. Nobody will click on it. I'm just looking at the oh, and then, okay, recently I did two things where I'm gathering pictures, and that's because I did one for Warsaw and I did one for Algiers, and that's because a while ago I tried it and I did one for each country. I did one for countries in Europe, just slideshows showing what it looks like, and that's just because where I live in Sacramento currently, um, there are a lot of buildings that are of different architectural styles that are really emblematic of other other places in the world, like north in like Arden Arcade. It's all there's a lot of Middle Eastern, Arabic shops, some architecture like that. In East Sacramento, there's a whole bunch of European-looking houses, especially like half-timbered houses. Looks like, there's half-timbered houses all over the continent, but especially like in Germany and France, and I guess those are the main ones. In England, they have like Tudor style, which is kind of the same thing, and that actually goes back to like I guess the Iron Age or something like that. There's a whole bunch of those in East Sacramento. So if I was gonna sing a song that where I would benefit somehow to be walking around wearing clothes that match that sort of building, and then I could intersperse it with like images that I might get from the internet of like some place in, I don't know. I just did one for Warsaw, so if I just look at the Warsaw pictures and then I think like, well, where do we have buildings like that in Sacramento? We have all kinds of buildings here because it's the capital of California, and a lot of people from all over the world have been moving here and building their houses for a really long time. And so we have, several of each kind of building. Not to mention, all the religious buildings and commercial buildings and government buildings. And most places in the U.S. don't have buildings that are much older than what we have here. And then we also have like monoliths, like you see other places, especially like in England or Scotland, they have all these stone monoliths, Ireland too. And we have those here too, but they were, they were all the Native Americans, I don't know, were hanging out around these rock structures the same way people were doing in Europe. And so if I know what Warsaw looks like by making a slideshow, I might as well share it. I was making these slideshows for a long time before I decided to actually share them on YouTube. I know what Warsaw looks like because I made a slideshow about it. Now I could walk around Sacramento and make it look like I'm walking around in Warsaw. I'm still doing my spoken word right now. Yes? Would you like to be on my video? Okay. Anyway, I guess I'll cap this off at a half hour. Because I could, obviously ramble on for a long time. Okay. So the top videos, yeah, the animated ones. So then I did place slideshows. Top videos list shows all the different things that I tried in all this time. The music videos, did a lot of these this past summer, and yeah, some of them did much better because the more of them I do, the better, more in practice I get, and I haven't been this much in practice for a long time. I was a very good musician when I was like in high school because I played in several of the school bands, and I was playing music every day, and then after that I would play guitar with my friends all the time. And then, I'd go through different periods of time where I play either more or less guitar, but this past summer I've played more than ever since then. Okay, well, this is 29 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm going to see if I can cap it off at 30. Okay, that is all I have to say for now. Ciao. Here it comes. Here it comes.